The voice in your head is Outback Jack, talking to you directly from inyourheadonline.com. If you're not listening, your mother still dresses you.
All right, we're back. Welcome to In Your Head with Jack, my co-host, 1-inch biceps, and the man from the UK, Barbed Wire.
Mm-hmm.
On this week, we got a special guest, the man who puts crap in Wrestlecrap, R.D. Reynolds.
Hey guys, how are you?
How did somebody put crap in Wrestlecrap? Really?
Actually, I just report about the crap in Wrestlecrap. I don't
Even
actually.
I can put it there, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be ordering the DVD.
Katie Vick, so.
There's plenty there to find without putting your own in.
Mm-hmm. Although I will be ordering the DVD, so you're not going to go completely without punishment.
Yeah, the DVD is kind of my it's like my admission, of things I have done in the past. But fortunately, my Wrestlecrap, my personal Wrestlecrap, played out in front of 25, 30 people. So not thousands and thousands.
When does the DVD come out?
DVD is actually out right now, so I'm just, in fact, I'm burning off discs as we talk.
Wrestlecrap.com?
Wrestlecrap.com.
What's on the DVD?
It's kind of a compilation of all the horrible stuff that I came up with in my independent wrestling career as a manager, as an announcer, as a booker. Just did a lot of just horrible stuff. Best example is we had a guy. Probably best example is the R.D. Reynolds character itself. I mean, we came up. We wanted to do have me as a manager, and so we tried to come up with who's like some obscure, former huge star, and we came up with Burt Reynolds. And my character, of course, is that I'm R.D. Reynolds, the illegitimate nephew or some relative of Burt Reynolds, and that we kind of just ran with that.
When did this take place? Like back in the 80s?
This would have been in the mid-90s. 95, 96.
What was the name of the federation?
Pro Wrestling International. See, it was PWI because they thought they would get a rub. And I didn't come up with this. They thought, yeah, exactly. Wasn't that clever?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it got so much of a rub that we drew like 25 to 30 people to every show.
Nice.
Then they left when they found out there was no Bill Apter there.
Yeah, that's right. No, they left whenever we started presenting the shows that my friend and I came up with. So
you guys ran it?
We actually didn't run it. We actually booked it.
Yeah.
Although someone, a good friend of mine named Dan Garza, who actually ran that promotion, I to this day I still don't know why he ever let us book it. I don't know if he thought we were funny or what have you, but.
Any famous wrestlers get their start there, or go through there at any time?
We had some famous wrestlers that went through there. I'm trying to think of the guy's name. Ian Rotten went through there. Who I don't have a lot of fun things to say about, so I'll just let him go.
Okay.
Madman Pondo, who does a lot of hardcore
he's like in
Japanese stuff now. Yeah, exactly. Not in PWI, but I have also worked with in the past guys like Men on a Mission. There you go. That's something to be proud of. Exactly. Actually, my pro wrestling career ended. I was able to finagle my way onto an Ohio Valley wrestling show.
Oh, really?
And that was when Mark Henry and the Big Show were down there for rehab, basically. And I was able to manage Mark Henry versus the Big Show, and it wound up being my final wrestling match as a manager. So it was too brutal. Brutal. I was so horrible. So.
Have any professional wrestling training?
No.
Did you ever take
I just watch and.
Yeah, right.
And that was part of the problem. Is that I had no training, and whenever I got that match in OVW, I took a horrible bump. I took a choke slam from the Big Show, and I landed totally wrong, and it was just a mess. Just an absolute mess.
Did it hurt you?
Both. The perfect combination. It looked bad and it hurt.
Yeah, at least you're going to get
I seriously thought I broke my hip, but fortunately I didn't. But I was also smart enough to know that it was time to get out because I was not going to get anywhere, and that's kind of when I came up with doing something on the internet and Wrestlecrap. So
if you're going to break a hip, at least make it look good.
Yeah. Hey, that's the thing. I couldn't even make it look good.
So how did you meet Cornette?
I actually didn't meet Cornette. This was at an OVW house show. They ran a house show here in Indiana, in a small town that PWI had run for years and years and years, and had developed, I guess, a bit of notoriety there. Because I was a manager, and I would always come out and make these outlandish statements, and always, back myself into a corner doing these stupid, gimmick matches where by the end of the night, I would be humiliated, so I'd wear a diaper, I'd get hit in the face with a pie, I'd get my mouth washed out with soap, what have you. Whatever kind of, silly stipulation we could come up with, I would wind up, getting humiliated at the end of the night. So the fans at the beginning of the night, they would get me out there, yelling and screaming and talking about how much the town sucks. And by the end of the night, they would get to see me humiliated. So it came full circle. The people that ran where the Indiana shows were, they very much enjoyed my character. So whenever they heard OVW was coming, and it was Dan Garza again that was promoting the OVW house show there, they said, well, is R.D. Reynolds going to be there? Because we really want him to be there. It was a fundraiser. So they said, well, R.D. doesn't work for OVW, but we can probably get him on that show. So that's how that came about.
So I take it you were always a wrestling fan?
Yeah, pretty much since my teens. But I wasn't a fan before then. I kind of got involved whenever I started to kind of pay attention with the whole rock and wrestling thing. But what really happened is I had a friend that was supposed to come over one night and just hang out and play video games. And he said, well, I'm going to watch wrestling tonight. I was like, oh, you're going to watch wrestling? Oh, why don't you come over and play video games? No, I'm going to watch wrestling. So I decided to flip it on. It was a Monday night primetime wrestling, as I recall, and I saw my first British Bulldogs match, and after that, I was hooked.
Huh. Nice. So when you got into wrestling, you wanted to be a manager. Was there any managers you were a fan of?
Huge fan of Bobby Heenan. Always have been. In fact, I probably wouldn't even pay attention. I mean, whenever I saw the Bulldogs match, I was really blown away. But what really caught me on was whenever Heenan and Monsoon were doing primetime wrestling, because I just thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. And I would just watch. I have tapes here at home where I have tapes of primetime wrestling that have no wrestling. It's just Heenan and Monsoon doing their best. Whenever they would go to a match, I wouldn't tape it, because I would just watch Heenan and Monsoon because I just thought they were hilarious. I thought they were the funniest thing I'd ever seen. Because Gorilla was the perfect straight man, and Heenan was just, he's just brilliant. Just brilliant. He's just the funniest guy I've ever, had ever seen. And then about a year ago, I actually got to meet him and talk with Heenan for quite some time, and just the nicest guy you could ever meet.
He's still a funny guy. He stole the show at the last, at the Hall of Fame. Not this year's, but last year's.
Yeah, I actually heard that he was very funny at this year's too, because
I haven't seen
Iron Sheik was up.
TV part.
Yeah, Iron Sheik was up, but he was like rambling about, whatever for like 10 minutes straight, and Heenan was up next, and he just goes, I just have a question. Anybody know what the hell this guy said? Heenan's just brilliant. Just brilliant.
I think my fondest memories as a wrestling fan from when I was younger was probably the commentary for the 1992 Royal Rumble. That'd got to be honest.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was a big fan of Piper. Piper's pick.
Yeah.
That was a little bit earlier when I got to it.
Oh, back in the day, Piper was just, incredible. He was awesome, too. I was just always more of a Heenan fan.
Yeah. So you're more a fan of the funny guys and the promos than over the in-ring wrestling?
Both have their place.
Right.
I mean, it's really like whenever I go to a wrestling show or I watch a wrestling show, it's almost like, getting a meal at a good restaurant. You want to have the main course, which is the in-ring action, but you also want to have, you want to have your side dishes too, So, you can't just have, that's a filet mignon. You have to have all the accompaniments. So to me, I mean, the in-ring wrestling is the most important thing. But you also have to have some comedy. You have to have the storylines and everything. And whenever it's all together and it's all really good, I mean, it's just incredible.
Right.
And whenever it's not, sometimes that's incredible too.
Yeah, I think there for just a little while, about 2 years, when NWO was real big, that was really the best time in wrestling because WCW had everything at that for like 2 years. They had the great in-ring guys at the beginning, and then they had the good storylines with the NWO. But then it all went south pretty quick.
Yeah, WCW was, that whole period was just awesome. It was a great time to be a wrestling fan.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you didn't like what was presented on Nitro, you could flip to Raw. And both companies were fighting so hard to get your attention, to get to get the ratings, to get the money. And it was just so much fun to be a wrestling fan then. And it was one of those things that I never really realized just what we had lost until years later. Probably when I was writing Death of WCW. I didn't realize just how much we had lost.
Yeah, when you were watching it, you thought it would go on forever. It was 5 hours of wrestling every Monday night.
Yep.
It's hard to think.
Eric Bischoff thought it would go on forever too.
Right.
Yep.
To think now that you could sit through 5 hours of wrestling every Monday night, and not just sit through it, but look forward to it.
Yeah. That's the most important thing. Look forward to it.
Yeah, I could probably sit
There's
through
2 hours of wrestling on Monday nights now, and I never look forward to it anymore.
So when you first got in as a manager, did you ever think you'd make it to the WWE, or did you just do it just to have some fun?
There was probably
always a dream there.
Yeah, there's probably about a 1 week period where I thought I would go someplace.
Right.
And after that, reality kind of set in. You're like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to make it anywhere. But, it was one of those things, especially when I was booking. There are 20, 25, 30 people, whatever, out there. Oh, hell, I'm at least going to try and entertain myself. And that's why, we came up with these horrible characters. Like we had there was a short black guy, and he did a Kamala gimmick. His gimmick was Kamala Jr., okay? Mm. And he looked just like a mini-me version of Kamala, And that was, you groaned at that. But see, that was actually, we decided what we would do. Is we'd put him under a mask. Okay, you have this 5'2", 350-pound black man in this wrestling federation. You're going to put him under a mask. Mm-hmm. Is anyone not going to know who this guy is? But we went beyond that, and we decided the storyline was that I went to I was in Hawaii, Honolulu, Hawaii, as I recall, and I discovered this great comedian. And his name was Brother Kahuna, and that wound up being Kamala Jr. under a mask. And what we would do is we'd just have him come out to the ring, and we'd get in the ring, and he would tell horrible jokes as I just fell over laughing, because it's something like we thought was funny.
Right.
No one else did.
Hey, as long as you're having fun.
But we were having fun, so
right.
Yeah. The less said about my wrestling career, the better, I think.
Okay. I was just thinking you could have had that character, and you could have teamed him up with a guy that looked kind of like Carrot Top. And you could have had him do the switch, like the Killer Bees.
Oh!
Ass.
Boy, see, now you and I need to start booking a promotion.
Yeah, I'm getting all these ideas.
We can book one right into the ground.
Yeah. Just got to get a money man. I think into it. Got some money saved up?
Here and there.
Do you think that's where promotions like Ring of Honor fall down, is that they try and take themselves too seriously in a company that's built solely around men in underwear rolling around with each other?
I think it's the thing that, wrestling promotions have to have like I said, you kind of have to have everything, but whenever you're on the independent circuit like that, you almost have to have, for lack of a better term, your own gimmick. So if you're going to have a gimmick that's wrestling for a wrestling promotion, there's a lot worse gimmicks to have.
Right.
The Ring of Honor stuff, it can be it gets off a little too seriously, but there's a niche, there's an audience out there that wants that.
The fans that go to see that's what they want to see. They want to see the work rate. You know, sometimes when they bring in other guys, they get booed out of the building, unless they're like a McFoley or something. But once, you know, like they brought Matt Hardy in, and they started booing him right away because they didn't want to see that.
Yeah, I mean,
Jeff Hardy. Oh, Jeff Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. No, I think they cheer Matt Hardy.
They probably love him now.
yeah, I think anybody would cheer Matt Hardy at this point. Yeah.
Poor dude. Why am I laughing?
When did you start the Wrestlecrap site?
Started April 1st, 2000. So it's been just a little over 5 years. I can't believe that. It was one of those things that I started the site just kind of as a lark, you know, just something to amuse my friends who are all wrestling fans and I. And it was really never designed to do anything more than that. So I'm kind of blown away that it's, you know, it's lasted 5 years. B, that it's, you know, generated the amount of interest that it has. And C, I think my greatest achievement would be that I've conned somebody into paying me to write 2 books with the word crap in the title.
That's kind of like this show, except for we don't get any money and we don't have a following.
No.
I'll start someplace.
Right.
I tell you what. I tell you what, guys. When I first started the site, we were like blown away because I remember the first month that we had 2,000 hits. It's like, wow, 2,000 hits. That's amazing. And we just thought that was like the neatest thing ever. I mean, we do that in an hour now. But I mean, you know, it all starts someplace. You have to start and you have to build. And that's the same thing in any, you know, we were talking about Ring of Honor or what have you earlier. I mean, it's the same thing. You have to start building a following, and you have to start someplace.
Right. I've seen some Ring of Honor tapes. I enjoy it. I could see it's not everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah, I think it's a thing that, you know, but it's a lot of, I mean, there's an audience out there, and it is definitely their cup of tea. So more power to them.
Do you think any of the guys there could ever make it to WWE? Because I know the 2 guys that they're looking at is Samoa Joe and CM Punk.
You know, I hate to say this, but I really hope they don't. That's for a purely selfish reason. Because if they get there, they're going to be buried on, like, you know, Velocity or whatever.
Did you see CM
And I just don't see them. Yeah, that's the thing, is I don't, like, everybody's, oh, we want to see this person in WWE, or we want to see that person in WWE. And anymore, I don't want to see anyone in WWE because they just misuse the people they have.
The funniest part was they called the tag team CM Punk. They didn't call him CM Punk. They called the tag team CM Punk.
Yeah, see? I mean, they don't know. They don't know, or they don't care, so.
I think a lot of the bigger name guys on the indie scenes and, you know, Wrestling Japan once in a while, I think they make more money now than, you know, just having, you know, the lower end guys in WWE.
Well, I think it's one of those things.
You're going to be, you know, a big money guy anymore.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, though, that I mean, anybody that starts out in wrestling, that's like their goal.
Of course, yeah.
That's where they want to be.
Right.
That's like the ultimate. And if you want to make the most money in this business, you know, main event in WrestleMania, you're not going to make any more money than that.
Oh, of course.
But the problem is, you get to WWE, and, you know, what are your odds of main eventing WrestleMania?
Right. You see a guy like Spanky, and then he ends up quitting because he just didn't have fun there. His lifelong goal. Just didn't have fun.
Yeah, just imagine that. I mean, you build your whole life to getting to, you know, where you want to, you know, this is my lifelong goal, and then you get there and you're like, man, this place sucks.
I know. You feel like you wasted your whole life.
Start wearing big fur.
Yeah.
I'm depressed.
Like Paul London.
Yep.
That's like the new thing in wrestling, is the big fur coat.
I don't know how.
Yeah.
Out the big fur coat.
I don't know how big fur coats became cool. Yeah,
I think RD has a big fur coat on his website there back in the PWI days.
Yeah, actually I do. Actually, on the DVD, there's a. I actually was managing on a lucha show, and I was wearing that big fur coat. So
you started the
lucha show.
On a lucha show. Don't ask why, how, anything else. I have no idea why anyone would ever want to book me on a lucha show. The only funny thing that I can remember about that show was me, the guy I was managing, Trash Luzigan, who is all over the DVD. He was like kind of my pet project, and then Dan Garza were all on the show, and I think we were the only English, non-Mexicans on the show. So, and I remember very clearly because we went over to do our interview, and the guy was just talking to us in Spanish, and like we had no idea what to do, and I just said, "Look how trash." yeah, we didn't habla nothing, So he was like talking in Spanish, of course, and I was just like, "Look out, he's talking French or something," and just being an idiot.
Well, lucha shows are generally insane, so
you started,
they got away with it.
Induction. Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
When you started the site, who was the first induction?
It was one of those things that I remember very clearly whenever I was trying to come up with an idea for the site, and I can tell, and that's kind of the story of the first induction. Is I was on the phone with Merle Vincent, who helped me start the site, and we had come up. We were watching Nitro or something, and he was like, "Oh my God, did you see that? That's the worst thing I've ever seen." I said, "Well, you've never seen the gobbledygooker then?" Because that's was always like my barometer as to what the worst in wrestling is. I always thought the gobbledygooker was just the most absurd thing ever. So I'm sure that was the first induction.
Yeah.
Followed closely by anything with Cheatham, the evil one-eyed midget.
Most gimmicks you can see like what their idea was, but who would ever? What was the point behind the gobbledygooker? What was there that would get people to clap or enjoy?
I don't know. The thing is, I really will never know, but I do know, they did think that was going to be, that was really going to get over. So I remember talking with Dave Meltzer about it, and he said that Terry Funk had told him before, Hector Garza ever came out of the egg, it's the gobbledygooker. It's like, they're thinking this is, Hector Garza is going to be the biggest star in the company. He's going to come out of this egg. To this day, I have no idea why they would ever think that, but they did.
I remember when I was in school, and I kept thinking every week, man, I wonder what's in that egg.
I think I was...
Mm-hmm.
They kept cracking every weekend.
Yeah. I mean, say what you will. Go ahead.
No, I just said then we got a dancing turkey.
Yeah, I mean, say what you will about Vince McMahon, but you have to give him a lot of credit because he convinced a lot of people to order a wrestling show to find out what was in an egg.
I know.
I think I was
even now, if you think about it, if you look back, you think people are crazy. Why were you even interested in what was coming out of an egg? But if you watched it at the time, you were into it.
Yeah, well, it was a big mystery. And, mysteries are always, almost always just horrible in wrestling.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're good. But that way, I don't think it could ever be any more horrible than that was.
Well, Yeti cracking out of ice was pretty bad.
Yes, that was horrible too, including him humping Hogan from behind.
Wasn't he a mummy?
Yeah, that was the thing I never understood because he came out and he was dressed up as a mummy, and I was always confused because I thought a Yeti was like an abominable snowman or something. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. Nope. It's a Bigfoot up north.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm totally confused by that.
I think that must have been Kevin Sullivan's plan.
Yeah, that was...
I don't think they really had a plan there.
Didn't he come out years later dressed as a ninja?
He did, yes. Yes, he did.
Yeah,
I think they still call it the Yeti. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that was one of those things that just never, You have those characters that get made over. I remember when Mike Rotundo was in, this was years ago in, the NWA, he was in the Varsity Club, speaking of Kevin Sullivan. And then, he was Captain Mike, because he was the captain of the wrestling team of the Varsity Club. And then, a week later, he came out and he was captain of a boat.
Yeah, that was great. And he had Norman the Lunatic with him.
Yeah, and he was captain of a boat.
Yeah.
I want that shirt.
I do too. Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I never understood that because, like, why would you? Okay, so you have he's like a captain of a yacht. Okay, and who are you appealing to? Are there a lot of people that have yachts that are really interested in pro wrestling? I said before, every promotion has to have a niche.
Right, they were going after.
Maybe that's what WCW was going for.
Right, that was the demographic they needed to get the ratings up.
Schooners.
Did you ever get any emails or phone calls from any wrestlers that were mad to be on Wrestlecrap.com?
Generally, no. I did get contact with Oscar from Men on a Mission, and he was very upset.
Oh, really?
And I didn't even believe it was him, because I thought it was just somebody working me.
Yeah.
But, I guess it was legitimately him. And I wound up doing an interview with him, and he got to take me to task on it, and that was fine. Anybody that, disagrees with what I say on the site, that's certainly fine. I have no problems with that at all. It's a free country, and you're allowed to, think whatever you want, and, but generally most people have a really good sense of humor about it. Yeah. I remember, Chris Jericho had emailed me years ago and stated that he thought that, I had inducted the Jinx brothers, which was Matt and Jeff Hardy, and he just railed on Matt and Jeff about that after I had posted it. So I thought that was really funny.
On the other side, do you get any? You get a lot of emails like that, people who in the business who enjoy the site.
No, not really, because I think a lot of. I get some emails that I can't really talk about. In fact, I got one this past weekend. It's somebody that was involved in that was in WCW at the time of. I'd written Death of WCW, and they were in WCW at the time, and they'd given me a really fair critique of it. So I get some of that, but I think most people are just so afraid, you
might get back that they were.
Yeah, it might get back, or the flip side of that is just nobody cares, which is certainly possible too.
Right.
So.
Although I remember you've written on the site before that Crash was a fan. Crash Holly.
Crash Holly was a fan. Steven Richards was a fan. Of course, John Tenta. Just the Earthquake. Nicest guy. Just super nice guy. Wrote the foreword to the first book. And what a nice... I'm very fortunate to have met, some of the people in the wrestling business I have, like, John Tenta, like Bobby Heenan. They've just been... nothing short of wonderful. Just nothing short of wonderful. And I think
Tenta's health?
He's doing much better. Yeah. They said the last time he was through his he was at the doctor, they would have not even known that he had cancer had they not already known that because the tumor had shrunk so much. So he's doing much better.
That's good.
And for that I'm very, very thankful.
Did it ever surprise you when you started meeting wrestlers just how nice people they can be? Because we had C.W. Anderson on the show last week, and while I didn't think he was going to be an asshole, I never realised that he was going to be such a nice guy, and he was one of the nicest guys I've ever actually talked to in my entire life.
It depends. I think it depends a lot on, when you meet them, how you're how you are talking to them, and I don't mean that if you're, I mean, like if you're doing like a radio interview like this, or if you're doing, how you are talking with them, what level you're talking with them on. And some people are very, very nice. The other thing is I've walked up to wrestlers, I've seen in like an airport or something, and some of them aren't nice. And, a lot of that is just depend. Think about yourself. You're going through an average day. That's what these guys are doing. Sometimes you're in a good mood, sometimes you're in a bad mood. There are days I would hate for people to meet me because they go, oh my God, that guy's the biggest jerk in the world.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's just dependent. Excuse me?
If you show them respect when you meet them, and like you said, if it's in an airport and it's just their private time, they might not want to talk to somebody.
Sure, and if you go up and you cram something in their face and shove a pen in their face, hey, sign this, which they get all the time, I think it's a matter of respect, and I always try and give any of the wrestlers, and you'll note on the site I try very hard not to pick on the wrestlers themselves, because most of the time it's not their idea.
Yeah, it's the gimmick itself.
The gimmick's not their idea. That's what they're being told to do. And if they were to say no, Vince isn't going to care. Sure, you don't have to do this. You're fired, and I'll find somebody else that will.
A perfect example would be like the Red Rooster. Because Terry Taylor is an excellent wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a horrible gimmick, horrible idea.
Yeah, or like we have this week on the site, we have Lance Storm. He's a great wrestler, and okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to tell everybody you're boring. Okay.
I never understood that because in WCW, I thought his promos were good. I thought he was entertaining.
I thought he was entertaining in ECW and WCW.
Yeah, I thought WCW really hit a stride though with the when he first came in, when they had him win the 3 titles.
Yeah, I thought Lance was wonderful. So I never really got the whole. I never got any of his WWE career.
No, either. I don't think that gimmick has ever gotten over the boring gimmick.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Or the losing streak.
Yeah, the losing streak, that's another brilliant gimmick, that I've never seen get over once.
Although having a huge package, they were onto something there, I guess.
Yes, the giant dong gimmick.
Mm-hmm. I'd be glad to get that gimmick.
I live that gimmick.
You beat me to the punch.
And to have Jackie find out and look scared of it, that's just got to be empowering, really.
They could have gave that to Das Wunderkind, Alex Wright.
Yeah, that guy was scary.
Not that I was checking him out or anything. Kind of hard to miss.
Well, I mean, he was dancing and, swinging it in your face for that dance he did.
Well, you had to pay him extra for that.
Sherman was very proud.
Oh, dear.
So how did you go from having the website to writing the book?
Actually, 1 week, somebody had emailed me a question if I'd be interested in writing a book. I never really thought about it. Excuse me, but then, I thought about it. I said, that wouldn't be too bad. I wouldn't mind writing a book, but, I don't have any contacts, and, I have no idea who you would talk to about writing a book. And, one of the other things is, and this was kind of hard, really, really hard, even still, to, try and talk to wrestlers, is, you call somebody up. I remember talking to John Tenta, his first interview we ever did on the site. And you call him up, you go, yeah, I'm with Wrestlecrap.com,
right.
And I write about the worst in wrestling, and I thought of you. And it was really, really hard.
When we
So
started
whenever
the show, I had a different name.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
And we had originally
We had to change the name of the show to make it a little more user-friendly.
I was jacking off. Jack, N, period, off. That's like my middle initial is N. And so the show was in your head. So it was jacking off in your head. And so I was thinking, if we're going to get guests, I don't think I'm going to call somebody else and say, hey, welcome to Jacking Off in Your Head.
Exactly. But it was difficult.
Right.
And whenever I'm sure that, one of my readers put me in touch with ECW Press they were actually out of Montreal at the time. And I remember, talking with them, and they said, yeah, we really, really want to do this book. I was like, I was kind of surprised they'd want to do it. And then, 6 months went by, and I never heard anything. I was like, I'm never going to do this book. And, it's kind of a bummer whenever, people are like, yeah, we definitely want to do it. So they come back 6 months later, and they say, we definitely want to do the book. We're definitely not calling it Wrestlecrap. And I said, if you don't, I won't. Yeah, exactly. And I said, if you don't, then I won't do the book. And I thought, I just shot myself in the foot because they'll never do it. But they came back 2 weeks later and said, okay, we'll do the book with the Wrestlecrap title. But I think they still, even now, people are like, I really want to buy your book, but I don't want to go into Borders and ask for it.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, ask for it by name. So you see the look on their people's face.
Right.
I
think that's a problem with TNA, actually. I don't think you think about it too much when you everybody knows it now. But like if you call up and order it on the phone, I mean,
Yeah.
Can I order a TNA Lockdown? Is that on the Spice Channel?
Exactly.
I want to see that movie. I'm all about prisons. I find them sexy.
No, Dusty Rhodes is in it.
Yeah, I'm thinking Dusty Rhodes, Kevin Nash, and Jeff Jarrett. Thank you, no.
Were you surprised how well the book did? Or did it?
Yes, very much so. I was totally shocked because I had like no expectations for the book, none. I mean, but that's how I started with the website too, and I had no expectations for it. I think anything I go into, I never go into it with I never go in expecting like it's gonna, we're gonna have this many hits, or we're gonna sell this many books, or we're gonna, sell this many DVDs. I never go into it expecting that. I always go into it. My goals are never like sales. My goals are always, can I entertain people? Can I make something funny? Or can I make, with like Death of WCW, it was kind of a combination of, can I make something funny along with, can I make it, something that people will remember and something that people can get something out of. But I mean, it's always about entertainment. That's what I always want to do. So, if we sell 10 books, if we sell 10,000 books, 10 million books, whatever, it makes no difference to me as long as I'm making somebody laugh.
How did that come about, doing the book with Bryan Alvarez? You told me on the phone that you've never met him.
No, I've never met Bryan. Actually, happened as a Figure 4 weekly subscriber. That's his newsletter. And he had I just thought he was really entertaining. Well, ECW Press, after the shocking success of the Wrestlecrap book, they really wanted me to do another book. And I started thinking about different things that I could write. And I started thinking, okay, well, what are the most interesting stories in wrestling to me? And the one was the death of ECW. And so I started thinking about that, and I got so, I just knew I couldn't write that book because I'd be really depressed. I just couldn't do it because it's so depressing to think about these people that really wanted this company to succeed. And it just didn't happen. So I thought, no, I can't do that book. So I thought, well, Death of WCW, and I thought, well, I can't write that book by myself because I don't have enough. I don't know enough of the inside stuff, which is what I really wanted it to have.
Right.
So I contacted Bryan, just as a lark. Said, R.D. Reynolds, I wrote Wrestlecrap, maybe you've heard of the site. Would you be interested in doing a book? And fortunately for me, very fortunately for me, he decided that he wanted to do it. So he got on board, and about a year later, the book came out, and this one I think is actually doing even better than the first one did. So I wrote the first one to kind of be more like you wouldn't have to be a wrestling fan to understand what was written in the first book. And I got some criticism of that, so I took that to heart. And the second book I made, for hardcore wrestling fans. And I think those have really come out in droves. So,
how did you go about writing the book with two people who weren't in the same area?
Basically, we broke it up by years, and I took the first 2 years and I think the last 2 years, I think the first part of the book up to like 97 or 98. Which is basically the beginning of WCW, to where the NWO is, excuse me, really hitting their stride. And then I also wrote basically the last chapter, which was 2001, and then the epilogue. I mean, we both worked on it. Right. By the time that book was done, the first draft was huge. I mean, it was so big and it was probably about, 33% larger than what the final book weighed in at. And then I basically went through, because Bryan he probably wrote 75% of the book. But then I went back through and rewrote it so that it wasn't quite so wordy and quite so verbose. And I think that really helped the book, because I remember reading through it at the beginning and it was just really kind of hard to read.
Right.
So I had to really trim it down.
Did they give you any guidelines, like it had to be under so many pages and under so many words?
Yes. Yeah, and that's the other thing, too. Excuse me, you go in with, you know, when you have, at least the contracts I've done, is you have X number of words. Because they don't want you to write, you know, something that'll fit on like a, you know, a cocktail napkin. But they also don't want you to write War and Peace.
Right.
So, I mean, it's one of those things you gotta have to, you know, and we even asked whenever we did the contract for Death of WCW. I mean, it was they wanted a much smaller book than what they wound up with. But they're happy with it now, of course.
Yeah. I remember seeing on Amazon, it was always, I think it was #1 for a while for wrestling books.
Yeah. Actually, as of like last week, it's still on.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's even possible, but I'm very, very thankful. I'm very blessed.
I don't think the WWE does a very good job in promoting their books. When I remember when Foley's first came out, you saw it on there constantly. The last few, you see it on the TV once in a while, but not like they did there.
Yeah, I don't understand that, because it's such an easy revenue stream for them. You know, yeah. I mean, it's such an easy revenue stream for them. But like some of the recent books, it's like, well, who the hell are these books even catered to?
Right.
Like Hunter's book, you know, who's gonna go? You know what? I'm gonna get that book because he's a bad guy, and I want to see how he lifts weights. Plus, they got that picture of him on the cover. Mm-hmm. He looks like just the most smug, arrogant jerk on the planet.
I can't
like, come on, you know.
All the books lately have been written by heels.
Yeah, and you know, you think, well, it's year 2005, and that doesn't matter, but it really does.
Yeah, it still matters.
It really, really does. Although if Edge's book came out now, that would do much better, I think.
You think? He's on TV.
He should write a second edition to that.
Yeah. And Matt Hardy should put out his book.
Mm-hmm.
Again.
That would be very interesting.
I think that Hunter book was ghostwritten by Mark Madden. Serious?
Yeah, I know Madden had worked on the Flair book.
Yeah.
I know that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you know, there's somebody else. You'd asked earlier about people that I'd forgotten about Mark Madden. People that have written me, or you know, word has gotten back to me that they were not happy with what was on the site. Mark Madden was one of them.
Oh, really?
He was very unhappy that I inducted his match with Gene Okerlund. So.
Oh, did he think it was a classic?
I don't know if he thought it was, you know, like you know, Eddie Dean Malenko 6 or something or what, but. I guess I don't know if he thought it was a 5-star classic. He was very angry about it. Very angry about it.
Madden classic.
Yeah, I did not understand that. So he and I kind of had a war of words, but you know, it was one of those things that I actually people tend to have war of words with me, and then I'm always like, well, you know, that's your opinion. You're more than entitled to it, and you know, God bless you for it. And then they get even more angry.
Yeah, I could see if you said something about his commentary. You know, and he got kind of mad about that. But I don't see how you can defend that match, saying that was good.
Yeah, I don't. But you'll have to have Mark Madden on and find out.
Wrestling fans, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Although we do have a fan that's in love with Mark Madden, seemingly.
Is this in love with Mark Madden?
Well, you wouldn't know any other different way if you spoke to him about Mark.
And it's a him.
He's very passionate about Mr. Madden, his casino man.
It's not often I'm speechless, but I think I'm speechless.
He also likes Vince Russo, so.
See, I've always joked, because Vince Russo has a book coming out from ECW Press. Same people who do Death of WCW. I keep telling the ECW Press, you know, if you really want some publicity for this book, what you need to do is get me or Bryan, or me and or Bryan, I guess I should say, and Vince Russo all booked on the same show.
I'd like to see that.
This is so awful. So I was talking with somebody at ECW Press, and they said, yeah, the Russo book's almost done. I said, great. I said, are you publishing that as a fiction book?
I saw the Torch interview with him. It's like 9 hours long, him and Ed Ferrara. And at the end, he's talking about his book. And he said he wrote it a few years ago. And when he wrote it, he like buried everybody and he talked bad about everybody. And then, now that he found the Lord, he rewrote it. And like he only blames himself. And I was thinking, why would I read the old book? I want to read the book where he buries everybody. I don't want to read the book where he's nice.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know if Russo really has changed, but I mean, like, people have given him Death of WCW and he signed it. It's pretty amazing because, like, there are so many people out there that have that book. Like, they have gotten like everybody to sign it. I know people that have Kevin Nash's signature, Vince Russo's signature, Eric Bischoff's signature. The only two left are Scott Hall and Hogan. Scott Hall would sign it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But my hat goes off to anybody. I can't believe that. I was just shocked that somebody got. I always said Bischoff would never sign it, and Hogan would never sign it. But now that somebody's got Bischoff to sign it, good Lord, I
want to know, could you find a sleazier picture of Eric Bischoff for that cover?
It's so great because
he does a pretty good job himself.
Yeah, it's so great because I've had so many people that have asked, couldn't you have found a better picture of Eric Bischoff? And I'm like, it's for the cover of Death of WCW. No, I couldn't. I love that picture. I saw that picture and I was like, I saw that picture. I'll never forget. I was like, that's got to be on the cover. It's got to be on the cover.
And Scott Hall looking all sweaty and stuff.
Sure. Well, here's something else. Talking about cover shots. The back cover of the Wrestlecrap book. You've seen Giant Gonzalez, El Gigante, whenever he went to WWF, and we were talking about Sasquatches earlier. He's dressed up like some Sasquatch or some Bigfoot, and he would have on his early matches in the company. They actually had fur covering like his wiener.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And in his bunghole,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then like later, like at WrestleMania 9, for some reason they didn't cover up his butt, and he had like these airbrush muscles on his butt. And I tried so hard to have, because I had a shot of him from behind with just the airbrush muscles ass, and we tried so hard to get that to be the back cover of the Wrestlecrap book, but
I think interesting.
They wouldn't go for it.
I remember when he came out at that Royal Rumble, and everyone I was
He's awesome.
with, we just burst out in laughter. I don't think I've ever seen anything so funny. That was even funnier than the gobbledygooker.
Well, he was he was so fabulous in the ring. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was awesome, man.
Yeah.
The Warrior had a suit like that for a while, where it had the painted on muscles.
Yeah.
The airbrush.
Yeah, airbrush muscles. I didn't get that either.
No. That's what's
but yeah, Warrior, I don't get. I don't get Warrior anyway, and that's all I'll say. Okay. I know he's not very happy with me these days. So.
Yeah.
No. Although that's hardly your fault, I don't think.
Yeah, he is. He's. But Warrior's one of those guys. I mean, how many matches has he wrestled in the past? Good Lord, 15 years. So think about that.
Right.
But still, everybody talks about him.
I know.
He's a genius.
I think if he would have stayed, I don't think people would have talked about him.
Right. But see, screw Lanny Poffo. Warrior's the genius.
The longer he stays out, the more people want to see him. Then when you see him, you know why he was gone. Or you wonder why you wanted to see him.
Yep.
Both Incher and I, we've read both books that you put out.
Yeah.
I really like the second book.
I love.
Good. I'm.
Oh, I just wanted to say, I just love the part when you talk about Juventud Guerrero going crazy on PCP or whatever it is, and he's ripping off all his clothes. That part just made me laugh for like hours.
Oh, yeah, and it was great because, like, WCW said, yes, that was not part of the itinerary for the day. Like, him going insane was like, listen, okay, we're going to get off the bus then, and then Juventude's going to go insane, and then we're going to pack up and go to the matches. Yeah.
Write that on the schedule.
Yeah, that's crazy. That was, you know, I mean, that was not like that company every week. You know, something insane would happen. So the book was kind of easy to write from that end because there was no lack of material. We could have made that book 10 times as long. Because people were always like, well, why didn't you include this? Why didn't you include that? I was like, man, I'm not writing, you know, we're not doing the Death of WCW encyclopedia.
You could write everything that happened every week.
Yeah.
I remember Bryan Alvarez said on Wrestling Observer that the book, it just wrote itself when he started going back and looking at the old Nitros.
Yeah. But, you know, it was one of the things that Bryan said whenever we first started writing the book. He said, so I remember thinking about, you know, doing Death of ECW, and I didn't want to do it because it was going to be too depressing. And Bryan said, you know, whenever you're writing this, you know, we're going to be so depressed when we get done. I was like, oh, no, we won't. I thought that was just stupid. Because I was thinking of all those horrible, you know, 2001 Nitros. And Thunders. Thunders were far worse. As unbelievable as that could be. But then I started going back and doing the research for, like, the early stuff. You know, in this 95, 96, 97 Nitros. So awesome. I got really depressed. Just like he said.
Because you remember all the terrible stuff, and that's funny, but there was a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, just everybody losing their job.
Yep.
All right. I guess we've gone about an hour. I just have one more thing I want to ask you.
Absolutely.
Have you ever had anything about Tatanka on the website?
I haven't ever actually inducted him, but I have many, many times. Anytime I mention Tatanka on the website, I always write Tatanka and then in parentheses Buffalo. Because they did this horrible WrestleMania album once, and like his song, it had like these Indians doing like a war cry.
Right.
And then it goes, Tatanka, Buffalo. And I never got that, but I always thought that was like really funny.
I think that's what the meaning was, I guess.
Oh, is it? I don't. You know what? How long has it been since that guy hit? What, 13 years or something?
That's quite a while.
And if that is the true meaning, you're the first person in 13 years to explain that to me.
Well, I'm a huge Tatanka mark. Which?
Oh my God.
Yeah, anytime Tatanka is mentioned on the site, it's always Tatanka Buffalo.
Well, I had to ask you this. My co-host, they didn't want me to do this. But do you remember the Tatanka War Chant when he used to come out? On my...
I'm not sure. Do I?
I don't know. Well, when he used to come out,
Say no.
at the end of his song, it would have the Tatanka War Chant. And I have a challenge on my website, the Tatanka War Cry Challenge.
Okay.
Who thinks they can do it better than me? I want to know if you want to be the first person to accept the challenge.
I don't remember it. Oh, wait. Yeah, I remember it. I remember Tatanka's War Chant. It was, hey, how are ya? Hey, how are ya?
I think you
Was that it?
You want me to do it?
Go ahead.
We actually got a lot of emails on our last show because I didn't do it. It's our first show I didn't do the Tatanka War Chant, the War Chant.
Okay. I don't think I can match that, but I have a toy poodle in here. If I grab him by the testicles really hard, he may be able to do that.
Well, that's what I have Intro do for me to get that out.
You grabbed yourself by the testicles to get it out?
That's what my co-host does.
Yeah.
Oh.
At least I tell him that's the reason.
That's how I muscled out the Eric Bischoff question. Could you find a worse picture?
All right, well, thank you for doing the show.
No problem. Yes, I do, yeah. You talking about somebody holding your testicles? That's what always a brilliant way to end the show. Good night, everybody.
All right, thanks, RD.
Hey, no problem.
And good luck with the website. And do you have any
Thank you.
do you have any future books coming out?
No, we're actually in negotiations to do a third book, but we're not quite sure what we want to do. They wanted us to do Death of WWE, but I thought that was kind of stupid since the company is making all this money.
Yeah.
They really want us to do that book. I think they called me. They've called me like several times. You know, you should really do this book. It's like they just had like probably the second biggest grossing pay-per-view of all time.
Could you
you know?
Could you find a worse picture of Vince than Eric Bischoff?
Yes. Okay. I didn't delay long enough did I? I'm sure I can find a much worse picture of Vince.
Okay.
So.
Think you'll ever go back to the ECW book?
You know, it's one of the problem with the ECW book is like they did that Rise and Fall of ECW DVD, and I thought that was really fair.
Right.
A really fair, look at things. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I mean, the audience is out there, obviously.
Yeah. You got the pay-per-view and the Hardcore Homecoming coming up.
Yeah. And that DVD was like the second biggest selling DVD of all time for WWE. So I mean, the possibilities out there, I just don't know. I really don't know.
All right, now that's
we're just kicking around different ideas.
Yeah, this is going to be the real end of the interview. We're having Incher edit out the last part.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Hey, can you guys do me a favor, and when you post it, just send me a link?
Yeah, sure.
That'd be great.
All right. Everybody visit Wrestlecrap.com and go post on their forums. I just went there today. You can even talk to Earthquake John Tenta.
And he is the man.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right. Thanks again. I think we're all done.
Okay, no problem.
We lost one of our co-hosts.
Well, probably because you asked him to squeeze your testicles.
I know, and he's an idiot.
Hey, if you guys need anything else, just give me a buzz, okay?
All right, thanks.
Hey, guys, you're listening to Alex Portel on InYourHeadOnline.com. Stay tuned. We got more to come.